Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonably Effective Podcast. I'm 10 Types, as always, joined by Uncommon Fossil.
Hello, glad to be here today.
Yep, and today we have a really exciting topic, one that is the biggest, or one of the biggest things to happen in the Pokemon TCG every year, which is rotation, which quite simply is the essentially oldest year of cards are leaving the standard format. This is to keep the standard format a relatively consistent size and to make it more manageable for new players. And there are some various reasons to do it. It keeps the metagame fresh, and we'll talk about the metagame probably more next week. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. Because today we're taking a look at the trainers, which are generally the most important cards. And as well as special energy, there's just a handful of those. And yeah, we're just going to go over that. But you have anything else you want to add before we hop into things?
Yeah, no, next week we'll do Pokemon. We were going to do them together, but we decided to break them up. And the trainers and the energies as well are the more universal things. They impact a lot of decks. So I'm excited about today's topic.
Yeah, and there was a handful of universal Pokemon. There's like Squawkbilly X, Mew most of them, though, are going to be centerpiece of decks, versus most of the trainers are not centerpiece of decks. There's like a handful that are very important to decks. But yeah, oh, also one other thing. So the cards that are rotating are the regulation mark G, I guess. Well, more so the cards that are legal are regulation mark
Yes.
H, I, and J. There, I think, are going to be some reg G or J cards before G rotates. I'm not sure. But anyways, the regulation marks that are staying are the ones that matter. If there's a card that's been reprinted, then even if it's got the old regulation mark, if it's an older art, you can still play that. And we don't know every card that's coming out with the first set of next year, or sorry, the first main set, not counting the mini set there.
Right.
So some of these cards could be reprinted, some of them are. Hopefully, we get all the right cards. But tell us in the comments if we make a mistake. But I think we've got it all covered.
Yeah, right. We realized like earlier today that like one of the cards we thought was rotating has been reprinted. So and we'll talk about ones that maybe will get reprinted as well during the conversation because the first set we don't know what it's going to be. So what's going to happen with stuff. But so we're diving right in. We're talking supporters first, right?
Yeah.
And shall we talk about the big one that's rotating? Or what do you want?
Yes. What is the big one?
I think Professor's Research.
Okay.
Is a major supporter. It's been around for a long time. Like Professor Juniper, what a professor is, that's not part of the title per se. It's not a different card. So it's been around a long time. Discard your hand, draw 7. Sees play. Obviously, doesn't see a huge amount of play. I mean, it's in a lot of decks, but there's not a lot of decks playing 4 of these days. It sometimes has been more popular than others. And this rotating is a huge deal, I would say.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, it is definitely a good support. I'm certainly not going to see him deny that. I don't think it's the single biggest loss, but I do think it is a meaningful loss. But on top of that, it's a card that. I mean, you mentioned Professor Juniper. This card I'm looking at is also Professor Juniper. It's like Professor's Research is the card name, and then Juniper is the subtext or whatever. This is interesting because there's 2 cards like that in the game. I believe Just to Your Right Boss and Research, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, and Boss is being reprinted or has been reprinted, so that's not rotating. And partially why they added the subnames was so that they could make they could highlight different characters and have the same effects, which they have done in the past, but then it caused some kind of weird rulings for balance reasons. I guess is the reason why, like, you can't play Professor Sycamore and Professor Juniper and Professor's Research, or you can't play any of them in the same deck as each other. Which I guess is due to balance reasons. So they changed it so that these cards share the same name, which kind of implied that they are reprinting them, which they have. As you said, this card's been in the game for a while. So I would not be shocked if it stayed in the game. It doesn't have a great replacement. I've heard some people talk about Carmen, which is like, I mean, they're different, right? It's Carmen just draws you 2 less cards every time, which is pretty meaningful.
Right. In Carmen, you can play your first turn going first, which is the plus side, but it gets you less cards. So if you need to just get rid of the cards is the main part of Professor's Research, then Carmen does it, but obviously drawing 2 less is a big deal. So decks that want research are going to it's a big loss. I wouldn't be surprised if this one gets reprinted with a different professor still. Either immediately or maybe there'll be a little gap. I'm not sure, but we do have some other things like the Lily's Determination, and that do in terms of the draw aspect gives you the draw part of Professor's Research. So it's not as critical as sometimes I think losing Professor's Research than it would have been in the past.
Yeah, I guess. I think there is three main draw supporters in the game right now. Plus, there's also a powerful search supporter, which is like a similar role there. So research is very good. I'd also say Iono, which is also rotating here, and Iono is definitely a supporter I don't expect to get reprinted. It, of course,
Yeah.
if you're not familiar, this card is very good. And it has the effect that says each player shuffles in a hand, pops on the bottom of the deck, then draws a card for each remaining prize card there. So it draws you a bunch of cards in the early game. It's powerful disruption in the late game, but it's bad at the card draw in the late game generally, and bad at
Yeah.
disruption in the early game, potentially even helping your opponent. But I think Iono is potentially the best card in the game right now, I'd say. And yeah, rotating obviously going to be a pretty big deal there. And it is a major disruptive card. We are not losing Judge. I thought we were losing Judge. Someone pointed out in the comment section that it's getting reprinted. It's not currently reprinted, but it will be getting reprinted. And I believe Ascended Heroes could be Perfect Order, but it will be reprinted, so it's not going to be rotating there. But Iono is going to be rotating and definitely better than Judge.
Yeah. Now, potentially Judge could rotate briefly, right? It might not come out in the first set.
I mean, yeah, so we know the Japanese cards. It is coming out in the 100 decks in Japan, so I'd be pretty surprised if it isn't in either the first, like either the mini set or the main set. The main set's coming with rotation. The mini set is coming before rotation, so I think it'll come in the mini set. But if not, I'd be shocked if it doesn't come in the main set there.
Okay. And Judge, obviously, so we're not losing it. It wouldn't have been as big a loss, I don't think, as Iono or Research. Yeah, so yeah, Research might get reprinted. Iono, like you said, I don't see that as getting reprinted. So that I don't know if it's the biggest loss or not. I mean, so since we have Little's Determination, early game, that's better than Iono generally for you. And like you said, Iono can often help your opponent. Getting them fresh 6 cards early on can often help your opponent more than it hurts. But obviously that late game disruption is nice with Iono, so we're losing that in the game.
Yeah, there isn't really much disruption. There's Judge, which is, that's replacing Iono, but it's never going to be, the late game is not as disruptive. You have Unfair Stamp, you have like 0-6 Machinations. Wait, yeah, that's not rotating in area. I believe neither of those are rotating. I could be wrong. I know 0-6 isn't. I'm pretty sure area isn't as well, but like neither of those are super good. They're like okay, but they're certainly not. I wouldn't say like really near the level of Iono. So this is definitely a card I am going to miss, but definitely a good one as well.
Yeah, but as it was all cards, rotation is part of the game, so losing that is fair. Do you want to talk about some other cards supporters that draws cards?
I guess I'll talk about
or get cards.
Yeah. Let's talk Arven. I don't know if I said Arven already in the podcast, but I kind of alluded to it. That it's the third of the 4 powerful quote draw supporters. It searches for a tool and an item, putting them into your hand. I will also mention Town Store is rotating. I guess we'll talk about that a little later. But tool search is going to be down, which is interesting, making Air Balloon, I guess, worse. Air Balloon and various other tools are like, Air Balloon is a good card, but you look at a card like Vitality Man. Vitality Man might also be rotating. I don't really know. I don't really care, to be honest. But
yeah, I think it is, but we'll double check that later.
But anyways, these they're like tools that are kind of mediocre. And we'll talk a little more, about rotating tools later. But Arven rotating is going to change the landscape of the game, I think, some, because it is a supporter that's very important to a lot of decks. That is a search-based one, which most good supporters are draw-based supporters. So it's good. It's a card that's powerful. I do like it. There's a point at which I didn't like it, where I thought it was like overplayed, but I think it's a really fun and powerful card. And again, losing Arven Research and Iono, that's like a big blow there, I think. So we'll see how decks adapt. Obviously, I expect to see a Little's Determination, probably a 4 in most decks. Right now, it's played a lot. It's a 4 in many decks now, but it's not like a true 4 like in every deck. But I expect it to be that way after rotation, which will be a little boring, but I think we'll get, hopefully we'll see some interesting supporters being played, and hopefully, I'd like to see a new supporter or two as well that's powerful.
Yeah, look, with Arven, I think in some ways this is the most important of the supporters rotating. I think Arven is the one that's played 4 of most common in decks. That's kind of my experience with how the decks I've been looking at and seeing. So that there, I think it's played for more than Research or Iono, which may or may not make it the most important card. I could be wrong on that anyway, but that's my experience. So it's huge getting one item, and we are losing some important items. We'll get to those too. But like you said, losing the tool search is really big. So what I'm making a note down here is I need to play Rotom in the upcoming days because that's going to suffer. And I know it's not the Pokemon section. Rotoms aren't rotating, but obviously big crush to all the Rotom fans out there.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Rotom. I mean, I like Rotom. I do. But I don't know. Arven's like decent in it, but it's honestly not like absurd. You need a lot of cards in Rotom to be honest. So getting one tool is fine. But anyways, yeah. Lost my train of thought. I don't know where I was going.
But Arven is a big deal too, right? As you said. I mean, Research, Iono, Arven, all huge cards that we're losing.
Yeah. Oh, also, by the way, if you couldn't tell, Uncommon Fossil is like kind of sick right now. So yeah. But also, I was gonna say you mentioned you're like you want to play Rotom in the upcoming days. Rotation is in like what's today? It's in like 3 months or something. So we have a bit of time, or like 2 to 3 months or something like that.
Yeah.
But it is. Wait, no, it's in like I think it's over.
2.5 months. Well, it also comes different in live versus IRL, right? The set comes out, rotation happens 2 weeks later IRL, right? But that day in live. So, and I think it's late March is when the set comes out.
Okay. So, anyways, you have if you're like, oh, I want to play my next before rotation, you have some time. And right. Yeah, but anyway, so Arven is a big loss along with Iono and Research. Outside of that, the supporter losses are more minimal. I mean, 3 big supporters is still pretty substantial. Oh, I will say, what's rotating, the set's rotating. The first one rotating is specifically Scarlet and Violet. Scarlet and Violet to, I guess I'll just say Paldea and Fates. And Scarlet and Violet base sets generally have a lot of powerful trainers. That's why we're losing so many. I mean, oftentimes you do lose powerful trainers with rotation, but like, losing this many staples is something you'll see mostly with the rotation of base sets. And we're in a bit of a weird era of Pokemon where the Mega era is like started. It's like we still have a new first set of the year for it though, so it's kind of weird. But anyway, so I guess I'll talk about.
No, but what you're saying is important. Just because with the Mega Evolution set, it was a base set, but it wasn't a base set in terms of getting a whole lot of staples. I don't think so. We're losing our staples from the old base set, and we're not really getting an immediate base set with staples to replace it. Probably we don't fully know what's in the set, but I think we are going to drop off with staple trainers more than typically this year.
Yeah, I'd say Mega Evolution had maybe half the amount of staples that you're kind of expecting, especially with oftentimes the second set has a bunch of like staples. But Mega Evolution had Boss, Energy Switch, List Determination, Rare Candy, which Ultra Ball, I guess I'll say, are the quote staples there, or whatever, the powerful universal trainers. There are some other ones you could include, but I'm not, like Repel or something. But anyways, you got those cards which are very like good. But then in the second set, Phantasmal Flames had like Dawn, I guess, is the quote staple in the set, which is like not really a staple. It goes in some decks, and it's a pretty decent supporter. But anyways, it was Phantasmal Flames, unfortunately, a pretty weak set there, but we see that that's just not as many staples, so we'll see what happens with the Perfect Order. But we are getting, I will say, Pokepad, which is a good item. We are losing some good items, but that searches for any non-rule box Pokemon, so that is like a staple, which is coming this year.
Yes.
So that's going to be a pretty good, pretty big deal, pretty good card.
Yeah, no, that is a big card, and going to be important as we get to some of the item losses. All right. So next support, because we want to go through the supporters. So we want to talk. We got like Jacq next, and I'm looking forward here. You got the text to read it. Search your deck for up to 2 evolution Pokemon reveal and put into your hands. Just another supporter getting you some cards. It's meaningful. It's not huge, but just want to make mention of that.
Yeah, I guess. I feel like, I mean, I don't think Jacq's a very good supporter. I'm trying to think of the other ones that are very good. I guess I'll mention one that's deck specific, but very powerful, which is rotating. The other cards with it are not all rotating, but this one is. Some of the Pokemon are, but it's Professor Saw's Vitality, which is an ancient supporter. allowing you to accelerate two basic energies or one basic energy to two ancient Pokemon from your discard, and then you draw three. It's a very powerful card, specifically in Raging Bolt EX. I think it's almost like underrated. I mean, I feel like it's so much better than Crispin. It accelerates more energies and also draws cards, which is like crazy. We've seen cards like this in the past, but anyways, we're not really here to talk about how good this card is, really. But yeah, I mean, it is good. It is very meaningful to ancient decks, specifically Raging Bolt EX, and it's going to be a pretty big blow to that deck. Raging Bolt EX itself is not rotating, but Tiamat Sogarpon EX is also not rotating, but again, Prestige's Vitality is rotating, which is a pretty big blow to it. It was reprinted in Prismatic Evolutions. If you're not aware, generally mini sets or special sets don't they're not going to change the regulation mark of cards. So yeah, but anyways, Sada's a pretty big loss here. Obviously deck specific, but pretty powerful.
Right. Raging, yeah, it affects Raging Bolt that sticks around, but it's not going to be so good anymore because it needs that energy in play. So a big deal there. And then we've got two other supporters, at least, to mention that both do similar things, slightly different. The first is the more universal one. I say in Professor Turo scenario, right? Put one Pokemon into your hand, discard all attached cards, energies, and tools. So an important card that goes in quite a few decks. It's nice in a number of ways. So that's definitely a loss that'll impact a lot of decks.
Yeah, it's a healing card, it's a switching card, it's a reusing abilities card, and there's also Penny, the other one that goes along with it. First scenario is future doesn't really matter there, but Penny works with the basics, but returns the cards attached to your hand. Penny is generally played in more stall-based decks, sometimes control decks with like usually a stall package within a control deck is where you see it played in. It could be paired with other things as well, but for the most part, it's used to heal. I think. I mean, it can be used for switching. It can be used for reusing abilities, like the Lake Tour scenario. But ultimately, we don't really have a great replacement. I mean, in terms of switching, if you're looking for a supporter that switches, you do have like Kieran. But yeah, these cards are. It's interesting that they're both rotating with very similar effects here. They're both good and fun cards, I'd say. But I wouldn't say they're like absolutely huge losses. I don't think there's any deck that truly relies on them. There's maybe some weird and quite frankly bad decks that are like these weird stall loop decks, but those decks just aren't very good. So,
well, I mean, just speaking up for Penny, I mean, Professor Turo scenario is nice also for if you bet like back in the days of Black Snorlax, right? It was nice to be able to get your Pokemon out of play, right? Better than a switch even because it couldn't get gussed up and stalled again. So losing those, hopefully stall doesn't get too good because that would be unfortunate. Penny is played in decks like Mega Absol. Maybe that's one of the not good decks in your mind. I don't know. But big basic decks are one of the other things besides control that Penny's been a part of, and I'm a big basic deck kind of fan myself. So therefore, Penny's a loss to those decks.
Yeah, it's like a meaningful loss. When I'm thinking of it being like amazing, it's a deck like where you're not attacking. But if you're just like sitting there and taking damage and not attacking, that's not so good. Or not doing damage. But it's something like Absol Toolbox, that deck. Yes, having the healing and switching is nice, or specifically the healing is nice. Switching is good, but you have other ways to do that. But the healing is very nice. However, you do lose the energy. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the deck. I think it's okay. I think it's a little overrated, but it is good. It's a fun deck as well. It's difficult to play, but Penny can be good. I'm certainly not saying the card's bad, but I don't think it's like super amazing or anything. I think it's like maybe like a B plus tier card, A and B range somewhere in there. Compared to some of the Iono Research Arven, which are like S tier cards. They're very, very good. And right. I do want to quickly mention one more supporter, which is the supporter card, which is Eric's Invitation, which is actually a card was mostly played in Snorlax, but it's still played in Control now. Apparently it's played in Goldengo. I've not really seen Goldengo actually use it, but yeah, it's played in that, and it lets you look at your opponent's hand, and then you put a basic, you find there onto their bench, then switch into the active. It's a card that is mainly used to trap Pokemon. It can be used as like a gusting card. I mean, it does gust, but it can be used to like knock something out theoretically. It's an interesting and good card that is rotating. It's not like the best. It's definitely one of the weakest of the supporters we've covered, if not the weakest. But it's like I think it's somewhat meaningful.
Yeah, look, I know you. I'll just give a quick shout out to Tulip that's rotating. So if I'm playing
Yeah, we're getting a
Alakazam.
fighting tulip though.
We're getting a fighting type one.
Yeah,
Okay,
in a perfect order.
okay. So anyway, that's not a. Yeah, we're falling off a lot with Tulip, but we are losing fun little cards like that. You just want to pay attention to that. We're not going to get into all those type of cards, but out there. So we've certainly hit all the big ones. A few others like Miriam, which isn't a bad supporter either, had some uses occasionally, and things like that. But we've hit all the big ones. I'm pretty confident there that we're losing.
Yeah. Then moving on to items, we have some big item losses. I will say I'll quickly start for the ones that we aren't losing that are big. We aren't, or that like are of that era. We're not losing Ultra Ball. We're not losing. Um, are we losing Energy Retrieval? Uh, we
Let me double.
are not. No, we're
Let's
not
see.
losing Energy Retrieval. We are not losing
No,
Switch. We're not losing. I don't believe Pokegear. We're
you're
not
right.
losing.
We don't lose energy switch.
Yeah, we don't lose an energy switch. So those are the ones that are staying. There might be some other ones I forgot, but those are the main ones that we are not losing, even though they were printed in what was it 2022 or 2023? Yeah, 2023. But you want to talk about like some of the big ones here?
Yeah. Oh, now I didn't double check, but are we? We're not losing crushing hammer, are we? I would
I think
like us
we I
to,
think
but
we are losing Crushing Hammer. Yeah, we are. We are losing Crushing Hammer. I'm pretty sure,
oh, that
unless it's getting
all right.
reprinted. Oh wait, no, never mind. We are not losing Crushing Hammer. It is
Okay.
being reprinted in next year. Um,
All right,
yeah,
I was being hopeful there. All right, so one of the huge cards we're losing is Nest Ball. Pokemon Search is always important. Nest Ball's been very good. Search your deck for base Pokemon, put on your bench, really good. Works for something like Swakable EX, which we're also losing. So this is, and we have Ultra Ball sticks around like you said. So, but every deck doesn't want to discard too. And if you're having to play in a world where we're playing four Nest Balls, a lot of decks that will kind of
you mean
chase
Ultra
away
Balls, right?
certain decks. What's that?
Ultra Balls, that's balls.
Yeah, yeah. Playing if yeah, you don't have to necessarily have to play. If we have to play for Ultra Balls, discarding 8 cards isn't going to be good. So losing Nest Ball is a big blow, I think, for a lot of decks, particularly like big basic. Again, I'll throw out like basic decks, big basic decks. Obviously, a card like Nest Ball, you don't really want Ultra Balls in a lot of these cases. So it's a hit to a lot of decks.
Yeah, this is specifically searching non-blue box Pokemon. You have Buddy Buddy Poffin. You have the new Pokepad card as well for single price
Right.
decks playing like evolutions, like Dragapult, for example. But I mean, then you can search Pheasant EX as well. There's a new Meowth EX, which is very powerful. I don't know if we'll talk, probably not gonna talk about it today, really. We might talk about it next episode, but we'll definitely talk about it in the future. It's very good. But I don't know if we talked about it in the podcast. I've talked about it on my channel. But anyways, Nestball though is well, it's not a way to search that out, but we'll see if there's a way to search out regular generic basics. I would
Right.
not mind seeing it, but also changing things up could be interesting. I can't think of any like super good ball search outside of Ultra Ball. I mean, there's Way by Poffin, but then you like move on to like Dusk Ball, which like is not very good. Uncommon Fossil, I know you're a fan. Okay, I like that card as well. I like Dusk Ball. I think it's like kind of wacky. But yeah, it's not super
Yeah.
good.
Well, yeah, like I was saying, if I don't want to discard cards and I'm a big basic, meaning like rule box Pokemon, I might need to start playing Dusk Ball, which I'm not a big fan of. So I think Nest Ball, probably to me, Nest Ball is might be the most important of the cards we're losing, um, just because it affects so many things. But you could argue that between that and support, I think it's a huge deal either way. Let's see, another anything else on Nest Ball, by the way?
Um, Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, I guess I'll say that there are decks that play Nest Balls, like they can play 4 Nest Ball and 4 Ultra Ball right now, and then it's like
Yeah.
even 4 Ultra Balls isn't that much Pokemon Search. If you're playing something like Raging Bolt or whatever, um, yeah,
Mhm.
it's still gonna be kind of rough.
So just briefly, because I don't know that you want to talk about it, but we are losing Great Ball. I'm pretty certain. So Dusk Ball, which looks at the bottom seven, Great Ball looks at the top seven. I think we are finally losing that. We've had it for a while. It's a great card. Great's in the name, but it's not a huge. It's an okay card. But I think this would have seen more play with Nest Ball rotating, but it's rotating as well, so that's gone too.
Yeah. Then there are a handful of other really powerful recovery cards. I'll just quickly Yes, name them all here. First, I'll start with Superior Energy Retrieval. Superior Energy Retrieval, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of this card, but I mean, it is very good in decks that have good synergy with it, like Goldango, which is rotating. But you discard 2 cards from your hand, get 4 basic energies from discard back into your hand. Obviously, as I said, very powerful in something like Goldango or something else which wants a ton of energy in hand. So, pretty simple, straightforward card, very powerful. But also, we're still keeping regular energy retrieval, so that's a pretty big deal there for just general energy retrieval. We are also losing Super Rod, shuffling 3 and any combination of Pokemon and basic energies from the discard into the deck.
Yeah.
And I'm also say that we are losing. I need to just double check. We're actually losing all these cards. I'm pretty sure we are because they're reprinted in Japan, but they're in weird products and stuff. And then the last one is Palpad that we're losing, which is a card that recovers as an item recovering 2 supporters from discard into your deck, shuffling them in just like Super Rod. So, what are your thoughts on these losses? Because we do still have Night Stretcher and Energy Retrieval, as I mentioned.
Right. So Super Energy Retrieval is meaningful, but I don't know that Goldango's the big deck that plays it, and we're losing Goldango, so that's not as big a deal as it would be. I think Super Rod's a big loss. Yes, we have Night Stretcher, which covers that. It goes to hand, not the deck, which generally is better. Night Stretcher, that is, goes to hand, but it's only 1. So, for single prize decks, which aren't the best decks around, but I still like single prize decks. You need a Night Stretcher is not enough because if you're getting knocked out 5 times over a course of a game, you need to recover a bunch, and something like Super Rod is really important. So I think for single price decks, Super Rod could be a major loss there. And then Palpad, I like it. I'll miss it. I don't know that it's the hugest thing right now, right? Certainly control decks really like Palpad because you get that back. But there's a Palpad in a number of decks, but I don't think Palpad's is huge right now. As I think Super Rod's the biggest of them, of the 3 that you mentioned there.
Yeah, and also with Super Rod, or I guess with Night Stretcher, obviously being a replacement, getting 1 card into hand, it almost acts like a kind of search card in that way. And it's played in high counts in decks that don't need absurd amounts of recovery because if you pair it with discarding effects like Professor's Research, then you discard a lot of cards in your hand, then you get them back later with Night Stretcher into your hand, again, kind of searching in that way. But we are losing Research, so Night Stretcher is becoming worse in that way. There is Carmen. Carmen is nice. And I think Carmen will be an inclusion in most decks, which we'll talk about in a later video. I've talked about it on my channel with the new Meowth EX, but Research being a part of Dragapult or something is pairing it with Night Stretcher. That is very powerful, and you're losing that combo, which means that's lesser reason to play Night Stretcher, but you need to play Night Stretcher to replace Rod, because Rod can be very good if you are looking for, just simply 1 card. If you put 2 of these, you're not really going to have issues with owning a Pokemon in really, or basic energies in any regular deck. And also, it doesn't send stuff to the deck, so if you want to play something like Toxtricity, that's going to be a little more difficult to play. I'm trying to think of other examples like that. There's Steven's Metagross EX, I guess. These aren't the truly best of the best cards or anything like that, but not being able to send your energies back into your deck is going to be potentially an issue, or your Pokemon for some things. So we do want to just keep that in mind if you're playing a specific deck that is looking for that.
Yeah, I like having a rod of some type and format. Hopefully they reprint one at some point. It's also kind of nice losing important cards for periods of time. It forces us to think and get a little creative, and it does shake things up. So, but I'll miss it for sure. I think with this the Night Stretcher, then if you're playing more Ultra Balls in decks, then you are discarding. So discard if you're playing 4 Ultra Ball and 4 Night Stretcher, then you're going to feel free to discard a couple Pokemon with your Ultra Balls because you can get them back later. So I think that might be part of the dynamic of how things work out with big high Ultra Ball and high Night Stretcher counts.
Yeah, and I do enjoy that gameplay, but we'll see how it actually goes. I'm looking at the other items, trying to think if there's anything super. Oh, there's one. Or here, you want to say it?
Yeah, assuming you think Earthen Vessel, I think is a huge loss. There's a couple. I think Earthen Vessel is a major loss. Search for 2 basic energies of any type, so a big deal, a very big deal actually.
You do discard a card as well, which can be good or can be bad.
Right, and I think discarding 1, even if decks don't like to discard 1, usually isn't that bad. It's discarding 2 with Ultra Ball gets to feel a little bad at times, but I very rarely feel bad about discarding 1 card, I will say.
Yeah.
So, and getting those energies really good, especially at decks with multiple types of energy, it's just a huge card. So, for a lot of decks, so that's gonna make life difficult. Because I don't think there's gonna be a good replacement for that. I guess we have energy search still. I don't know if we're losing that or not.
I'd assume we're losing it. Nah, it's
I mean,
getting
it's a G.
reprinted.
Okay, it's a G regulation mark, but yeah, it probably is getting. But it's only one energy. Getting two, it's a lot better.
Yeah, I will also say that Earthen Vessel is a card. Admittedly, I'll understand right now it's being played a lot with like Arven as a way to turn your Arven item searches into energy searches, which
And
is
so,
useful
yeah,
and it's like the best way to do that. I guess outside of Fighting Gong than a fighting deck, but I do like obviously we're losing Arven, so that's not as big
yeah,
of a deal there, but it is still a big loss for any deck trying to get a lot of energy. I mean, realistically, if you need a lot of energy, then you're losing Superior Energy Retrieval, you're losing Super Rod, you're losing Earthen Vessel, which all handle with large quantities of energies, and then you're stuck with like Energy Retrieval, Night Stretcher, Energy Search. These are going to be a lot more underwhelming. So, yeah, I wonder how decks are going to kind of adapt to that.
yeah, and even something like say Teal Mask Ogerpon, which needs to get energies quickly, obviously both for its engine and for attacking. You can adapt some, but it's a blow to a number of decks. But
Yeah.
you had a different item that we're going to say is very important.
Yeah, that's Countercatcher here. Countercatcher, a
Yep.
very good card, allowing you to switch in one of your opponent's bench book into the active if you're down on prizes. It's one of the best cards in the game. I'd say it's probably a top 10 card in the game right now. Being gust on an item, very useful. It's played in a wide variety of different
Yes.
decks. Being down on prizes, there are a lot of decks in the game that can catch up through the use of spread damage or, I guess it has to be really spread damage. It could be taking extra prizes through like some other means like Iron Hands. I guess that's the other one. But anyways,
Yeah.
you have Countercatcher to like be item gust a lot of the time if you're playing like Dragapult or like some or Gardevoir, or like any honestly like it's so good. This card's very very good in so many different decks. Even if you're a deck that is trying to be more aggressive, you will find yourself down in prizes from time to time, and it's just going to be amazing. So yeah, Countercatcher is definitely one of the bigger losses. Yes, we do still have Boss. And we do also have Prime Catcher still, but we are losing this card, and that is gonna shake things. I don't know if shake things up. It's not, ultimately trainers aren't gonna. They're gonna change some decks up a little. The decks will still be good, a lot of them, unless they're obviously fully rotating, or like mostly rotating. But this is going to be a loss for some decks, which it's a card I am gonna miss. But it's an interesting card and powerful.
Yeah, and it's a loss to control decks as well because you're usually falling behind on prizes. With that, that's part of the game plan there. But control isn't at its high point right now. I think it's a little weak right now. I would say. One other item card just to mention. I know it's not at the strongest it's been, but Electric Generator has been a good card, especially early days. We're losing Miraidon EX as well for the Pokemon with the ability to get those lightnings in play. But it had been a very good item for a number of meaningful decks. It's fallen off a lot now, but has been meaningful. So I just want to make note of that we're losing that as well.
Yeah, we're losing Snorlax too. Yeah.
I,
I guess
yeah, your
Speaking
favorite
Basket
card.
actually sees play. That's a card that sees some play. It's not like super good, but
Yeah.
it sees a little bit of play. And yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, there are some meaningful items. I definitely say the spores are a bigger deal. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested in seeing what Pokemon's going to print. As I said, there is Pokepad, which is a very powerful item. But
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing if we're gonna get like some new cool items. Pokemon's been putting a lot of type specific cards as well, like Fighting Gong and I mean in Mega Evolution and Phantasmal Flames. There are a bunch of there's like Blowtorch, there's Force of Vitality. There's probably over like 12 or something type specific trainer cards, which are pretty interesting. It's definitely something I'm personally not a huge fan of, but I mean that some of these cards are pretty cool as well. So it's interesting to see what will happen with those, and those cards kind of solidify a type's identity more as well, which can be fun.
Yeah, and there are some other items that I've enjoyed playing. I'm not going to mention them, but certainly you can let us know in the comments cards that we're leaving out. 'Cause, there's cards we're aware of that we both have each have played and have some fondness for, but they're generally not as meaningful. So, should we go on to the stadiums now?
Yeah, I think that's good. You wanna start with the stadiums?
Yeah. So one of this is probably the big stadium that we're losing is Artisan, right? Which you search your deck for basic non-Roblox Pokemon, put it onto your bench. So especially as we're losing Nest Ball, it's a big deal. We do have the item coming out that lets you search for any non-Roblox Pokemon. So, but Artisan obviously has seen quite a bit of play and decks will miss it. I don't think it's not like a crippling card, and maybe the other stadium is actually going to be more impactful for the decks that need it. But Artisan definitely a card that we're going to miss from a lot of decks.
Yeah, it's a card that I think is like fine. I don't really play it too much. I mean, like it is good. Searching a non-boss basic Pokemon is definitely good.
Yeah,
However, it also gives it to your opponent, presumably. Like every time you play it, they're also going to get it. They're presumably going to get value out of it. Almost every deck in the game plays Pokemon
yeah,
like this, so it has a downside there, but it has upside as well. It is a powerful card. So meaningful loss is still a better way from your Pokepad. So should be fine, but it is definitely worth noting. Then there's another stadium or I guess I'll talk about Town Store now. I guess Town Store is another stadium. Once per turn, you can search for a card. This is a tool putting into your hand, which is interesting. It's like interesting because their decks kind of rely on tools. We'll talk about the tools in just a moment here, but
yeah,
they're losing quite a few powerful tools. And Town Store is actually a card that I've been playing with more, kind of almost replacing Arbenz for Town Stores, playing more pure draw supporters. And Town Store obviously a like pairing the loss of Town Store with the loss of Arven and the loss of some good tools. I wonder what tools are going to look like post rotation. Most of the good tools are rotating, or some of the good tools are rotating. I guess not all of them or anything like that. But then the tool search is for the most part rotating. We have Secret Box, like a Swift Treasure Tracker.
yeah.
We have T Marcus Petrol. T Marcus Petrol, I will say, will probably be good post rotation. Searching for any trainer. But then you're not getting like a free tool. I mean, it's not like a free tool especially with Town Store. That's all it does. But with like Arven, you get an item which is powerful and a tool which is okay. Town Store gives you some flexibility, and you're not going to be building a literal toolbox without Town Store.
Yeah, no. So it's a big loss to some decks, right? Most decks don't play Town Store at all. I got to imagine, but the decks that use it is going to be the big loss. So important for some things, and probably I think the most important of the stadiums that we're losing. I would think so. We're losing.
I want to quickly say I think it's like often added as another tool search option / a stadium bump. Decks are already pulling for Arven and some tools, in which case it's not super useful. Or like it's not the most meaningful card. But if there's a deck that's really built around it, it's going to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's either Town Store or Artisan is the most important stadiums we're losing, right? You don't have a third one you think's better than that.
No, I think it's. I mean, Artisan is definitely the best. Town Store is like fine, good, but whatever.
I mean, Artisan's the most widely played, I think, but you have a lot of alternatives to get basics in play right now. So therefore, it's we need to I want to make mention of Beach Court. It's not huge now because of Latias EX, I would say, but just for one less retreat cost of basic Pokemon. So it had been very important. It sees some play now, but not a ton. So, but what's that?
Wait, it does see play?
Well, maybe not. I mean, not competitively.
I mean, I can't think the last time I've seen it played or played with it.
All right, but it was important, right? So. Someone played it in a Dragapult deck at Lily's. It hasn't seen much play in a while. Fair, because with Latias, it really serves almost no purpose in most decks. And I'm just gonna say another one that I'm glad is gone. We haven't seen it in a long time, but that's Mesagoza. Flip a coin, search your deck for a Pokemon it has, right? With those Lugia Archeops decks that were relying on Mesagoza. Just those were bad days. I'm glad those days are long gone.
Yeah, apparently it's being played in Charizard a bit more now. I've not really seen that used. I don't know. I'm basically card. I mean, it's random. It's like theoretically very. It's like I mean, I think I don't know if Pokemon Catcher is rotating, but that card's good, I guess. But it's like not fun. I mean, it like doesn't do anything half the time. So basically, goes it like feels bad or feels like too good. It's just it's a bit of a mess. But yeah, I'm definitely happy that one's leaving. I like Artizone a lot more than Mesagoza. But yeah, overall the stadiums, unsurprisingly, no huge losses. It's pretty rare that we have a huge stadium loss. I mean, you'd know if we had a huge stadium loss, right? Like Path like
Right.
peak a little while ago, or like a while ago by now. Or
Yeah.
I don't think the last rotation there was a big stadium loss. Um, unless I'm forgetting something, but for the most part, stadiums take a backseat in the Pokemon TCG. They are a cool card type in my opinion. I wish Pokemon did a little more with them, but yeah, nothing huge. I mean, Art Zone is like good, but not really, as you were saying, not a super game-changing card that we're losing. Then we'll move on to the tools, though, and the best of the tools is, of course, it's Choice Belt. No, just kidding. Choice Belt has seen a lot of play, though. Choice Belt doesn't do anything in Standard, though, so yeah. We are losing, though, the Tactical Machines. 5 of the 6, if you didn't know, there are 6. There are 4 in one set. By the way, the best ones by far are the ones that are 1 colorless energy to attack with. There's 2 that are 3 colorless energy. There's 3 that are 1 colorless energy, and then there's 1 that's I want to say it's grass psychic water, but I could be wrong. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. It's very very bad, but yeah, we got the 3. We got TM evolution for 1 colorless. You search for 2 evolutions to your bench Pokemon, pop them on there. You see
Yep.
TM devolution, which is like the opposite kind of. You devolve your opponent's Pokemon, all their evolutions by returning the highest stage to their hand. Obviously, TM evolution clearly used for setting up. TM devolution used for disruption, taking prizes, ending the games, things like that, and then Team Turbo Energize also card that wasn't played for a while, but now it's picking up steam with mostly control and or stall decks, and it's being used to or what it does is it searches for 2 energy, basic energy from your deck, and attaches them to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. That's obviously useful to allow you to set up your board with energies, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a nice card that's pretty versatile. And then the other ones are not super good. Crisis Punch is like okay, I guess. I think it's maybe a little underrated, but I don't know if it's actually underrated. And then there's
Blindside.
Blindside. Yeah, there we go. Which is not super good. It's like kind of funny, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah. So those right TM and evolution, devolution, turbo energize, big cards we're losing. Obviously, we're losing Arven too. If we had these without Arven, they would have fell off a lot anyway. But these are big losses, obviously. So it's just nice. These are good cards, especially with Arven, because you get your Pokemon in play with like Buddy Buddy Poffin, you get Team Evolution, you evolve. So they just helped you set up, gave you some consistency. So I will be missing the TMs. It, they've been good for the game, I think.
Yeah, I think they have. I wish there was more of them, or like they were. I mean, there's 6. I wish they were all more versatile. I wish they were maybe a little more generic as well, to be honest. Crisis Punch is only usable in like 1 turn of the game. In Blindside, it's 3
Yeah.
energy and you need damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon, and also it can't be immune to bench damage, which is like half the Pokemon in the game with Shaman. Maybe not half the Pokemon, but like it's pretty niche there. And then the last one is really terrible. TM Turbo Energize is useful theoretically in a lot of different decks, and same thing with TM Evolution and TM Devolution. Like I like these cards. We've seen
Yeah.
Tactical Machines in the past as well, and I think it's more or less the same story. There's some cool ones. They're like a little generic and not super powerful as far as I'm aware. I think there were some good ones, but anyways, those are rotating. I'll also mention, yeah, no, I guess I'll say I think the decks will be fine without these, but if you're playing a stage 2 deck, you'll be more reliant on Rare Candy, specifically with TM Evolution. TM Turbo Energize, you'll be more reliant on Crispin. There's still Joltik. I'm trying to think if there's something else, but there's probably some attacks that are like similar that are okay, but these are meaningful, but not like crushing losses for decks, in my opinion. And then there's the 2 Booster Energy capsules, which are decent. The Ancient Future ones, which are like okay, I guess. And then there's also EXP share, allowing you to maintain energy on your board. If your active is knocked out, you move it to a basic energy from that Pokemon to a Pokemon with EXP share, which is useful there. I think. Do you play that card more than I do?
I probably have played it more than you. It's not the greatest card. It's not played in the best decks usually because you don't want to have to be relying on it. And decks that you play it, it's always a little bit, your opponent can work around it. So it's yeah, I'll miss it, but it's not the biggest thing there. But yeah, it's meaningful. We're missing a couple other. We're missing losing Defiance Band. Just want to give a quick mention to that because that's an okay card. Haven't seen a ton of play lately, but it's not terrible. Then we have two other really meaningful ones. I'll say a Luxurious Cape, which for single prize decks, it really gives you 100 plus 100 HP. So as someone that likes to play Crustal's sticking around. I'm pretty certain. So there's a blow to that. So most people are going to be glad that gets weakened. But plus 100 HP gives up an extra prize card if you're knocked out by damage. So which obviously if you're knocked out some other way, you don't get the extra prize card. But an important card for a number of decks there.
Yeah, specifically, a stall deck like Crustal. Very powerful.
Yeah.
Very powerful with Mimikyu. I think that's still maybe a little underrated. Mimikyu's not really played very much anymore, but
Right.
just keep nice with those. It's not like super good with random single prizers. I think some people play it like that, and it's honestly kind of bad. I mean, it's bad because if you're looking at a multi-prizer, that card's going to be stronger, not just in HP but also in damage and like other stuff generally. And then if you look at a single prizer, it's weaker. So if you give it Luxurious Cape, then you're going to be giving up 2 prizes. So you have the entire downside of a 2 prizer, but you only have part of the upside, the extra HP. You don't get the extra, like the better attack, or like stats there. So it's like, it's kind of bad just on a random Pokemon, but definitely an interesting card as well.
Yeah. So it's not at the level of like the CMs, but an important card. And then Bravery Charm is another one that this was probably more widely played. Gives 50 HP instead of 100, only on basics, but doesn't give an extra prize. Can go on rule box Pokemon. So for big basics decks, it's been a good card. I gotta imagine it's seen a reasonable amount of play for most of its time it's been in the game.
Yeah, definitely a card I'm not like the biggest fan of either, but not because it's bad. I just don't really like big basic decks that much. I mean, I don't mind big basics. Oh, and Gardevoir as well, but Gardevoir is also rotating. But yeah, it's like it's a good card. Obviously, it's a pretty fun card, I guess. So definitely a card that some decks are gonna miss. Looking at something like Raging Bolt, but again, just like the general big basic decks. Definitely one of the more meaningful tool losses. Again, tools like like stadiums generally aren't going to be huge losses. And we'll talk about special energies. Those also aren't. I'd say special energies in general are going to be bigger losses. Tools probably in the middle, then stadiums in the least. But
yeah.
We'll talk about
stadiums. Stadiums just don't really get love from the developers, right? The stadiums like that we're losing, there's not a lot, and they're not that great. Some of these tools are obviously very important cards. So. And better than the stadium cards. So miss them. And there's a lot of mediocre tools. I think we're not going to miss Patrol Cat. Probably you're not going to cry over that.
Is that the one that stops mill?
Yes, stops a mill from anything, abilities, attacks, supporters, items. And losing something like Rigid Band, which is fun for certain decks that are usually kind of sketchy decks, but just stage ones take 30 or less. Just those cards like that to get lost are some of the funner cards because you don't think about it as much. I play them occasionally in decks, usually not the best decks, but fun cards that go in, or fun decks, the cards that make those type of decks a little better. So one of the things that happens with rotation, like the TMs make a lot of decks less consistent. So it will be a chance if you have a deck that's pretty good, that's not losing pieces, but it's not quite fast enough. You may have a chance initially until more cards get printed, because even the top decks might slow down a little bit to make some other decks a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, or maybe not. Well, yeah, let's be honest. If you got like a bad deck, your deck's probably bad. If it's like okay though, I mean, there's probably going to be some deck that comes out of nowhere. That's like a deck that's been that like currently exists. I mean, most decks played post rotation are going to already exist right now. I mean, what they are immediately coming out post rotation, and but like there'll probably be something that people just like aren't really expecting. So I'm interested in seeing what that's going to be. I imagine it'll be like 1 or 2 decks like that. But yeah, obviously the cards that are rotating they might be what's affecting it because they might be gatekeeping something else. But I don't know. We'll just kind of see because like power level and stuff. But then moving on to the last category of card here, we got Special Energy. there are only 5 rotating. Oh, I guess I'll mention there's one more card rotating that we didn't talk about, or that we didn't show, which is the Stadium Paradise Resort, which decreases the rotate cost like Psyduck or something. It's not very good, but it is rotating. I'm pretty sure it's like a Worlds promo. Essentially, you can't play it on live really. You can't really access it. It's not good. So there's like not really any upside to it other than it's like expensive, but it's not even like for how rare it is. It's not like that expensive because it's not very good. Like no one really. I don't know. I mean, it's not like no one wants it. It is like a cool collector's item, but it's bad. But then we have the 5 special energies here, which we'll talk about. I guess we don't want to talk about medical energy. Medical energy. I played like too much of this card. It's not good. But there is the first one we'll talk about here is Luminous. In my opinion, the best of the ones rotating. I'd really be interested in hearing your thoughts down below in the comment section because Uncommon Fossil, you think it's a different one, right?
I do. So yeah, and I don't know how much play either of these get. Luminous Energy gets a decent amount of play in tournaments. I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's mostly. Oh yeah, it's in Charizard. Some. Okay, I think it's like. Well, okay. To be honest, I so what Luminous Energy does. If you're not familiar, it's an energy of every type. It is every type. At the same time, if you didn't know, it is all types. So if you're looking for Pokemon to have both like fire and water energy on it, for example, it is both of those types. It is every type, but it's only one energy at a time. Not one type, but one singular energy. If you need to pay an attack of multiple types, it's not that. But anyway, so it is energy of every type. It can only work though if it has no other special energy attached. Otherwise, it's just a colorless here. So you don't want to be loading up on too much of this energy in a deck. But it's just like a tech in a deck that plays mostly basics. It's pretty easy to toss in. I will say putting it in Charizard, I think it's kind of bad. I mean, okay, well I think Munkidori is very meh. I mean, as a random tech option, it's an okay tech option comparing it to Psyduck, Shaman, um, tech options like that. I think it's fair. I think it's like fine in comparison to them. I'd just say it's fine. But anyways, it's played there. It's mostly played with Munkidori, including with Dragapult. It's good in Dragapult. A Dragapult EX, of course, is a Dragon type, right? It's in the name there.
Yes.
And also that means that it has an energy cost of 2 different types, and so then Luminous Energy is pretty nice there. I will say, well, I guess you're running Neo Upper, but if you're testing Neo Upper, then you don't need a Luminous, so that doesn't really matter. But it could be used to use Munkidori as well, which is like a nice little option there. And you play some basics. Luminous is pretty good in the deck. It's not like absurd, but it's good. And I mean, Dragapult is kind of absurd, right? So it's a very good
Yeah.
deck. So definitely a meaningful loss within that deck.
Right. Dragapult's very good. The deck's not going away, but Luminous does hurt that since you need both energies, and it just helps out that deck. So Luminous, yeah. I mean, I can see in Dragapult being such a strong deck, maybe the biggest deck around. Certainly, you gotta consider it. It may be amongst the special energies the biggest loss. I will argue Jet Energy, as myself, is the bigger loss, but it's one colorless energy. You switch from the bench to the active. It's one I've enjoyed. I put it into a number of decks. Now I'm not often playing the top decks, like the top, was playing a Crustle deck here, which I do enjoy Crustle, and some different things like that. It gives a little bit of versatility in decks. Yes, it was played in Lost Zone, which you didn't like it. 10 type didn't like it, and then we haven't had Lost Zone in a while, but I even thought it was okay in that. And it just gives a little switching, and attackers that have a one colorless energy in the attack cost. It just brings a little bit of value, a little versatility in the deck. So I think it's a plus to a number of decks. I think it's more versatile than Luminous Energy. I think it goes in more decks myself, even though it maybe brings less value than the Luminous Energy in the decks that it's in.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think Jet Energy is like, I get the idea of it. It's an energy that's just like an extra switch. If you don't really have any downside to it, it's good. I mean, the other colorless energies are kind of bad. The one's Heal 30, which is it's playing Crustle, right? Yes, it's playing Crustle. Oh, not
Yeah,
that much. And then
a little, not yeah.
there's Jet Energy, there's Therapeutic. Therapeutic's like very niche. Jet Energy is having a switch effect is nice. That being said, you have stuff like Air Balloon and a lot of SEX, which provide repeated switching effects, which I think is very useful. And they're easier to search, and they don't like cut into your I mean, I don't know. I'd say playing Jet Energy instead of other energies can be bad because you need your other energies, right? But anyways, the card is
Yeah.
good.
I mean, looking at the decks like the low punny decks that play it, I see four of in this low punny deck. That it makes a lot of sense there, right? Because you only need one colorless energy to attack with. You need to swing into the active, so it makes a ton of sense in a deck like low punny.
Yeah. I don't think like Mega Lopunny is gonna be like drastically worse when it rotates. Like I don't think it's killing the deck. I think the deck's fine. I mean, to be honest, most of the powers from Dustor in the deck, anyways. I mean, I do think Mega Lopunny is a pretty decent Mega. I think it's probably the second best behind Mega Kangaskhan EX. I don't think that's like a crazy take. I think that's pretty fair. I mean, like to be honest, most of them are on a pretty similar power level, and Mega Lopunny is just going to be a bit more versatile, just being colorless. So I think it's pretty decent there. Obviously, getting extra switching is nice, but also if you're just looking to attack with it every turn, then you can. I mean, I guess if you're looking to attack with every turn, I mean, you do have switch. If you don't have switch, then you could manually retreat. But if you want to use both Mega Kangaskhan and Mega Lopunny, then it could be a little more awkward. But I mean, it's not that bad. I feel like it is more or less fine a lot of the time. It kind of depends what plays you're kind of looking to make as well. But ultimately, so the Energy is all right. It's an okay card. I will concede that. But I mean, it's not a card that is going to be like super super powerful, right? We still have Air Balloon. Though Air Balloon, again, is going to be harder to search, but you still have Vladi ICX as
Right.
well, which works in most of the situations.
Well, and special energies is always been hard to search, right? So it's that's the big downside to special energy. And I do want to make mention of reversal energy too.
Yeah.
It's not as good. I mean, it's very good in what it does. Provides three energies on a non-rule box as long as you're behind in prizes, right?
Yeah. Evolution as well.
An
Oh,
evolution, and it's every type, right, of energy.
Yep.
So very good. It sees some play, like it's in some ends decks, I guess, so you can like attack with Darmanitan in it as I'm looking at it, because that's I think the only card that actually it works with. But so it goes in some things, but it's not huge right now. I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely a card that I thought. I mean, it's a card with a lot of potential that hasn't really figured it out, I'd say. But I mean, it is theoretically powerful. Being 3 energy of every type, that's like kind of crazy. Obviously doing only working on evolution on Woobox when you're behind is a pretty big downside. Or a bunch of downsides there. But
Yes.
it is a cool card in my opinion. I think people like it. I mean, okay, I think the deck, one of the decks that's best is Wug Trio, which is fun and rotating as well. But
Yeah.
overall rotation, there were some huge losses with I think mostly supporters and Nestball. I mean, and some big item losses as well. But overall, what are your thoughts on the rotation of the trainers this year?
I think for the most part the game's going to continue. I mean, obviously the Pokemon will just end some decks that we're losing, but we'll get past this. I think the Pokemon search is my biggest concern, I will say. The supporters, like I think something like Iona, which you think might be the biggest loss, it could be, but ultimately things are going to kind of continue the same without it, right? We're not reliant, decks aren't reliant on Iona, so it's going to be the Pokemon search, particularly Nest Ball, Artisan. That's Earthen Vessel. I think to me is gonna be. I'll miss that for some things, but decks will get around this for the most part. So I think it's not the hugest rotation, but it's meaningful.
Yeah, in terms of trainers specifically, are you
Yeah.
looking forward to it?
Yeah, I think it's always fun. It'll shake things up for a little bit. So I think what I need to do is, based upon partly your comments, is what happens is we're losing a bunch of good decks like Goldengo and such. There's a certain number of decks that are going to remain. So what's going to happen is the meta is going to get narrowed at first, I think, because people are going to play their old decks that they have a slightly nerf format for the most part. So therefore, there'll be 3 or 4 decks. Can I counter those decks? I think there's an opportunity there to do something interesting with rotation. Because like I said, things get narrowed. It'll open up some counter decks. So that's what I'm looking forward to there. And then obviously, then you look, and then you get the whole process over the year as decks get better, which I think is a healthy cycle for the game as we
Yeah.
get more cards printed.
Yeah, and in terms of it being like, I don't think it's a huge rotation in terms of trainers, though I think it's meaningful. I don't think it's like, I think it's kind of like like reasonable, like it's fair. I think it's like in
Yeah.
terms of like average. But in terms of Pokemon, there's like a lot of. I mean, the meta is relatively limited right now, and we're losing a lot of the top decks, which I am excited for. I do enjoy them. I mean, I joined the game. Enjoying the game is enjoying. I mean, I like other stuff in the Pokemon TCG outside of standard, but most of the game is standard, right? So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing some changes. I know a lot of people are. I think a lot of people like to complain about standard. I think the metagame's in a relatively good spot. I could be a little more diverse, but it's not too bad. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. But tell us down below in the comment section what your thoughts are on a rotation, if we missed any cards, or if you think we exaggerated how good any of the cards are, or under exaggerated. But yeah, just tell us that down below in the comment section. Any Pokemon you want us to talk about? Obviously, we'll talk about Gildango, Charizard, Gardevoir EX, Squawkbilly X, Mew EX, definitely there. And I feel like there's one other big one, maybe I'm forgetting. There's certainly some other
Yeah.
ones we're going to talk about, but tell us if there's ones that are a bit more rogue that you want us to talk about. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell on our YouTube channels, 10 Types and Uncommon Fossil. That really helps support us. And on top of that, also, you can listen to us on podcasting platforms if you want, if that's a better experience for you. But don't comment. I guess you could comment there, but we're unfortunately not going to be able to see it because of I don't know, we just can't. So but we hope you enjoyed, and as always, we're excited to see you in the next video.
Take care.